A Utah man's push to find his biological father has instead landed him in trouble with the federal government.
Turns out the prospective dad isn't just any other guy, Mike.
Yeah, and this isn't just any other story, Dave, as we learned from news specialist Andrew Adams tonight. Andrew?
This story, it spans states, it spans decades. This man believes his dad may be the founder of a brand recognized across the country, and it's that belief, he says, that's put him in an uphill battle in this highly unusual legal fight.
Here's volume 1, but it's pretty dirty.
Few cases cross a lawyer's desk like this one.
So they're claiming he's making this up.
The case of Ronald Fisher.
Ron approached me with wanting to prove the truth.
And the truth, according to Ronald?
Everything that we've found so far sure points to this is the right conclusion.
He believes Donald Fisher.
Well, we've definitely got the same jawline.
As in the late Donald Fisher, who founded retail giant The Gap.
It's very pronounced.
Is his dad.
I said, this can't just be a coincidence. Let's check this out.
Ronald Fisher talks on the phone.
I'd like to shake your hand and thank you.
Because he's behind bars in the Weber County Jail.
Next thing you knew, you were incarcerated, right?
Yes, that's pretty much the sum of it.
Arrested shortly after trying to deliver a letter and introduce himself to Donald Fisher's widow.
Well, it's been an uphill battle.
The feds allege Fisher lied about a potential inheritance to an undercover FBI agent.
And the government's claiming that that enticed him to invest.
One of multiple alleged violations of Fisher's probation. It's true. Fisher had done time before for white-collar crimes. He'd spent over a decade in prison. But he and his attorney maintain this is a different matter entirely. And he's had several circumstances in his life that raise some serious questions.
I grew up with my grandparents.
Fisher's story starts in the 1950s Bay Area, apart from his mom. He'd only heard stories about the dad he never met.
He was a successful businessman up in the San Francisco area.
In the 1970s, Fisher says he lost his ID while working on a fishing boat off the Ivory Coast and was stunned to learn from the consulate he was born under a different name.
Came back Ronald Daniel Fisher, and I'd been raised as Daniel Charles Steele.
Fast forward to 2012, and a mysterious meeting Fisher says he had in prison with attorneys who believed he was the biological son of Donald Fisher.
And everything led to the conclusion that, gosh, there's a good high probability that I am definitely Donald's son.
Ronald says he had to do more digging.
We did a facial DNA comparison on the two. We do have that report.
A report
The mouth, I think he was a 5 out of 5 on his mouth shape.
that showed an 88% match.
Anything over 50% is a high likelihood they're related.
But federal prosecutors say whether Ronald Fisher is Donald Fisher's son or not, it's irrelevant to the allegations of wire fraud facing him. They successfully fought his lawyer's attempt to exhume the Gap founder's remains to extract DNA.
And that motion was just denied. It's frustrating.
Locked up in Weber County for 9 months now, Fisher remains hopeful.
I'm a very positive person by nature.
He just wants to compare DNA.
Ron just wants the truth, and he'll face it.
In a case this lawyer maintains is actually simpler than it looks.
Everybody should want the truth in the justice system.
Well, we reached out to federal prosecutors for comment. They once again said, referring to their court documents, it's irrelevant to the case whether or not Ronald Fisher turns out to be Donald Fisher's biological son. We also reached out to the Fisher family's lawyers as early as last week. Still, no official response from them. Back to you.
Yeah, the whole thing very fascinating. All right, Andrew. Thank you. Dave?